The Joovv Solo 3.0 is a radically new design of red light therapy panels, and it's got some pretty neat bells and whistles. However, it comes at a big cost. Stay tuned to find out more. Hey guys, it's Alex here from alexfergus.com. Now today I'm doing a full review of the new Joovv Solo 3.0 red light therapy panel. I've got this behind me. I've been playing with it for the last, well, to be honest, a few months actually. It's been a while since I've been tinkering with this one, and I thought, geez, I really need to get this review out. So I do have a lot of experience with this panel now. There is a lot to reveal because if you have seen my first impressions video, which I highly recommend watching first, by the way, you will see that this panel is rather new. There's some new technology, new design elements, some new features in it that are new to the space. So it is a pretty neat panel. And what I'm going to be doing in this review is sharing my thoughts, impressions, feedback, experiences, but also I'm going to be testing it with my spectrometer, flicker, EMF meters, and we're going to see how this panel compares to a lot of the other panels in the market. One other thing, I highly recommend using the chapters below. So if there's a particular section that interests you, such as the EMF section or the price section, just skip ahead to that chapter in case you don't want to watch the whole video. First things first, what do you need to know about Joovv? Well, they are the big player in the red light therapy space. A lot of people associate Joovv with red light therapy panels. I know my first red light therapy panels were the Joovv Solo first generation panels many years ago. And that continues to this day. A lot of people go to Joovv first and then may look at their competitive products when they're looking at buying a red light therapy panel. So many see Joovv as trendsetters in the space. They have introduced a lot of new features and functions that are now taken for granted when it comes to buying a red light therapy panel. Things such as inbuilt control timers, modular support, battery powered portable devices. It really has made the competition have to step up and up their game. And now with the new Gen 3 Joovv Solo, we see Joovv have mixed it up even further. First, they've moved their manufacturing over to Malaysia, away from China. They've introduced their really powerful app that syncs with your red light panel. They've simplified their product range, and they've introduced some neat new features that are quite new to the red light therapy space as well. So, okay, so first things first, how much does the Joovv Solo 3.0 cost? Well, if you go onto the website right now, the current price is $1,365 US. I say current as that price seems to have changed since I purchased this panel late last year. I should also note that that price doesn't include taxes. So I put in shipping addresses in 3 states, California, Texas, and New York. And on average, the tax rate is about $120 extra. Now, I'm not quite familiar with how taxes work in America. Usually this is where I say, now by the way, discount code Alex will give you X% off. However, I don't have a discount code for Joovv, and I'm not affiliated with Joovv. Now, Joovv run an exclusivity affiliate program. What that means is if you're affiliated with them, you can't be affiliated with any other red light therapy companies out there. As for shipping rates, it works out to be about $90 to ship this to mainland America. If you're shipping it down to Australia, you're looking at about $260 US. If you're shipping it to the UK, it's about $160, and if you're shipping it to Canada, about $130. Now, what I should mention is those shipping rates don't include your local taxes when they come in. However, Joovv have a really neat calculator in their checkout screen, and you can enter in your country and it will calculate the estimated taxes. I haven't seen this before, and I think it's a really cool feature because I know a lot of people like here in New Zealand and Australia have purchased red light therapy panels from various companies, and then they get a massive bill, you know, for their customs, local import duties and stuff like that. And that's on top of the panel and then the shipping price, and all of a sudden you get another $200 bill in the mail. It's like, oh gosh. All right, moving on to the look and feel section of this review. Now, if you've seen my first impressions video, you'd see how nice the unboxing experience was. It is cool, it's up there. It's the best unboxing experience I've had with any red light therapy panel to date. The packaging was nicely done. Everything just worked. And I guess that's what you're getting for such a premium price tag. You're getting premium packaging and premium accessories and premium labeling and all that, right? And that's definitely the case with the Joovv. As for the panel itself, well, I classify this as a body panel. It is 150 LEDs, so my body panel class is 150 through to 300 LEDs, so it is on the smaller side. But the funny thing is, this was the standard for a body panel a couple of years ago. It's just that all these other panels have got a lot bigger. It only weighs 14 pounds. Now that is because it is made out of, well, the case is all plastic. Plastic on the front, plastic on the side, plastic on the back. There's very little metal. In fact, the only metal that I see, apart from the screws, is this mounting bracket in the center here. That makes it very light. Like, I can lift that with one hand, no issues. Now, because it's a total new design and these panels are now made in Malaysia and not in China, there's a lot of new and improved and different things on the panel. First thing, up the top here, you'll see there's no, well, there's no air vents, but there's no mounting points. So a lot of the panels now have those two metal screws on the top. That's where you can screw those metal hooks to hang them, and that's what you clip in if you're mounting, you know, multiple panels, like one on top of the other. So that's interesting. That's because Joovv have introduced a new mounting system, which we'll get to soon. What is interesting though is I'm so used to these little screw-on cable things on the top that when I was setting this up, I went to hang it from the back of my door like I do with most panels, and I realized, hey, I couldn't. Now, as for the design itself, from the front, it looks like a pretty standard red light therapy panel. You got white with LEDs, all good. When you look on the side and back though, a lot is different. First thing, on the side, there's actually no air vents through here, or branding or labels, which is quite unique. Which is so used to seeing air vents on the side. On the other side here, same thing, except we have a control panel at the top, which we'll talk about soon. Now on the back, you see a lot of different things here. First thing, the first big thing is there's only 2 fans. And I'm going to talk about the fans later because it is a little bit of an issue, the fan noise here. 2 fans, so that's quite interesting. What's cool though is these grips. You have handhold grips at the top, and at the bottom, I guess you can use that, but you also have 2 on the side. And the funny thing is, that's where my hands often go, like when I'm moving panels around. Sure, you pick them up from here, but like when you're putting them in the box and stuff, your hands just go here, and it's really, really good. Like, it's such a good design. I know a lot of newer panels are having handheld grips at the top and the bottom, like I know the new Platinum Biomaxes do, for instance, but Joovv have gone another step ahead and put these handheld mounts in here, which is really cool. Funny thing is though, this panel is so light that you kind of could get away without them, but hey, they're still really nice to have. The other cool thing is the power points are down the bottom. Now if you've watched a few of my videos, you'll know why I like this, but pretty much it means if the panel's hanging, or if it's a top panel, for instance, you need less cable to get power to one of these panels. For instance, if you got the socket off on the bottom of the wall to the side a little bit, you know, the cable only needs to go to here instead of all the way up here, like some panels I have tested and reviewed. In fact, some panels I've tested have had the power point way up here, so you're losing a good meter or so in cable length just to get it up to the top, which is a bit silly. And the other cool thing is though, as we'll see soon, the cable that actually comes with this panel is very, very long. It's 9.5 feet. So not only have they positioned it right, but they've also supplied you with a really long cable. So that is really, really cool. So what's included in the box? Well, first things first, you get your 9.5 foot cable, which I've already showed you, and that does come with a local New Zealand plug. Note it doesn't have a ground plug though, so that may mean the EMF readings on this aren't too good. We'll find out soon. You get a little instructions and setup card, and you get some safety glasses. Now I really like this. Again, if you've watched the first impressions video, you'll know what I'm about to show you here, but these are different. Previously we've seen like what look like swimming goggles. These are green lens glasses, alright? So here, let me put it over here. So that's what you're seeing if you wear these glasses. Now the cool thing about these is they block 93% of red light and 42% of near infrared light. It says that on the box that they come in. So what this means is if you are worried about the red light hurting your eyes or damaging your eyes, you can wear these glasses and know that 90% of that light is filtered out. But you can still see, you can still read, you can still use your phone. Whereas those other goggles, you couldn't. They just blocked off everything. So that is really cool. Personally though, I don't really use the goggles. I just don't look directly at the lights, or if I do, it's very brief moments. But it is nice knowing these, because I know a lot of people are concerned about eye damage with these, with, well, not Joovv, but with red light therapy lights. So this is a really good solution. It allows you to still move around and see and not be in complete darkness. So that is very, very cool. Next up, we get this manual. Now, this manual, I typically dismiss manuals. Like, I don't read through them, I just have a quick look at it and it goes back in the box. But as there are some advanced features in here, you know, using your Bluetooth and some new functions that other panels haven't used before, it is worth looking through this. Plus, if you have ordered, I've just got the Solo here, one panel, right? But if you've ordered the Duo or the Elite or the Quad or whatever, and you get a couple of panels, there are some instructions about how to pair them up. And you know, Joovv have done a really good job of showing you how to do this. So it is quite a good manual. It shows all the accessories, what's compatible with what, how to use it, how not to use it, safety, all that sort of jazz. Finally, this came with my purchase. Now this is the boot floor stand, and it's really cool. The Joovv Solo simply slots into that, and away you go. So I mentioned before I couldn't hang it from the wall. I ended up just leaning against the wall, but I could also use that boot stand. That would mean I could use it in the middle of a room without having to lean it up against anything. So as for stands and mounts, like I said, one option is the boot floor stand. You can also get a door mount or a wall mount. Now obviously a door mount is for fixing these panels to the door, a wall is for any wall, and I think you can also get a mobile stand, but that's only if you're getting multiple panels. So head over to the Joovv website and have a look. Though based on the pricing, I think it makes sense to get the stand bundled when you purchase the panel, because if you go back and buy the stand later on, you end up paying a lot more for the item. So just keep that in mind. What about warranty and support? Well, the warranty on this panel is 2 years, which is okay. I say okay because the other companies are now offering 3, if not 5-year warranties on their panels. So, you know, I guess it is a little bit subpar now, especially with such a hefty price tag. Joovv do a 60-day returns policy, and they do have a really good support system. Given the size of the company, you know, you've got a whole support team on hand. Unlike with a small company such as like Path LED, where you know, you may only have 1 or 2 people in the company. So, you know, hey, there's pros and cons to each, but typically Joovv support is regarded as being really good. And now for the fun part. This is where I look at the power and performance of the panel. I'll be using my spectrometer to test the irradiance and find out what wavelengths are being emitted. But before we do that, let's just run through what we do know about this panel. So 150 LEDs split between 660, which is your red light, and 850 nanometers. Now there's actually 76 LEDs in your red light and 74 in the near infrared light, so it's not a perfect split, which is interesting. Now these are 3-watt single chip LEDs. Now Joovv have redesigned the LEDs, making them apparently 10% more power than the previous generation Joovv panels, and also providing a greater treatment area. I don't know exactly what that means, whether it's an adjustment of the beam angle or how it works or how they're positioned. I don't quite know, but that's what Joovv have stated about this new panel. We also have a pulsing feature now, where you can activate a 10 Hertz pulsing function for the near infrared only LEDs, and this is part of their advanced recovery plus mode, where you hit the button on the side and that near infrared pulses at 10 Hertz. You can't adjust that pulsing rate, it's fixed at 10 Hertz, and it's only for the near infrared. And I do wonder if it's fixed to, I do wonder if it's only near infrared, so you don't have any issues with the flickering and potential seizure triggers that, you know, you may have seen me talk about in my light path LED first impressions and review videos. So that is interesting. Joovv over at the website have quoted a few, referred to a few studies showing that the 10 Hertz is beneficial for recovery. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fire up my spectrometer and I'm going to test the wavelengths that are emitted from this device. Alright, so I just tested red light on its own, and you can see the peak there is pretty much bang on 660. It was 659.8, and then yeah, it was bouncing bang on around 660. So that's quite good, or it's very good, and we can see quite a sharp peak there. So There is only one red light wavelength, which is a bit of a turn off. You know, I know some people would have preferred to see multiple wavelengths in the 660 and near infrared range, but Joovv have opted just to stick with the tried and true 660 and 850. So let's look at how the near infrared light stacks up now. Alright, with the near infrared, we see the peak is just above 850, 853.6. I did multiple readings and they were all around this figure. The lowest I saw was 852.8. But you know, that's pretty standard. Like typically I'm looking at a plus or minus 5 nanometers. So 850 is a little bit lower in this chart. We're down about there instead of way up top here, but it is nothing to get too caught up on. So good to see that the wavelengths do line up with the marketed claims. Alright, let's go test the power irradiance now. Alright, the power numbers are in. So the first reading I took was the peak power at both red and near infrared light. Just looking for the highest reading in the middle here at 6 inches. That came out to be 74.2 milliwatts over centimeter squared. So that's really good. To put that in perspective, the Joovv Solo 2nd generation panel, the peak was 48. So that is a big jump up. I did notice though that most of the numbers were around the high 50s, thereabouts, and then all of a sudden there was a massive peak up to 70 in the 70s, right? Now that happens with all panels, but this one was a big jump up, and that's the downside with the peak power reading. But there is good news for Joovv later on. We'll get to that soon. The peak red reading was 45.2. The peak near infrared was 66.3. Now, if you're wondering, so what? Check out the my red light therapy data sheet. I'll put a link to that below where you can compare these numbers with all other panels that I've tested, and you know, you can see how this stacks up with the other panels. And also be sure to subscribe, because I will be doing a big comparison series very soon where I compare this panel with all the other panels on the market, and we're going to do a direct head-to-head comparison, so that's going to be fun. Alright, moving on. The average power over 9 spots, that figure came out to be 59.2, which is good. I said that peak was in the 70s, but like I said, most of the readings were in those 50, 60 mark, and that's what I saw with the average power as well. So to put that in perspective, the previous generation Joovv had an average of only 40 or 39 milliwatts, so that's a big jump up power-wise in this new panel. So that is good to see. Next up, we have the total power output, and this is where I take the average reading and apply it to the surface area of the LED panel. It's not a perfect reading, but it does give some, does make it easier to compare one panel to the other and do some neat value calculations, which we'll get to soon. Now that reading came out to be 84.9 watts, which is also massively up on the Gen 2 Solo, which was only 58.6 watts. Now to put this in perspective, you know, the Mito Pro 1500, which is double the amount of LEDs, that has a figure of 136 watts. So you know, it's it would be interesting doing a test on the Joovv that had 300 LEDs. I guess what I'm saying is the power on here is good. I mean, there are higher powered panels like the Biomax and even the Mito Red have tested higher peak powers. In fact, I think the Light Path LED was actually bang on the same. The average reading was 58.7. This was 59.2. So you know, you're getting some good numbers here with the Joovv, but it's not quite up there in the 70s and that the Mito Red and the Biomax have. But we know those guys are the, you know, the big hitters when it comes to pure peak power. But good numbers overall from Joovv. From a wattage draw point of view, we had a 390 watts draw for both red and the infrared, 213 for red light and 196 for near infrared light. Again, all these numbers go onto that data sheet. I'll put a link to that below. Pulsing, like I said, there's one pulsing frequency in here. It's 10 Hertz for near infrared only. There's a simple button. Well, most buttons are pretty simple. You simply press a button and that activates the 10 Hertz pulsing. Next up, we're going to do the hotspot test where I turn this around and face it on the wall, and I'll give my commentary on that, and then we'll get into the value calculations. Alright, here we have the polka dot effect test. So the panel is 6 inches off the wall, and as you can see, it's quite bad. In fact, I can't remember exactly what the Joovv Generation 2 panel looked like, but I'm sure it wasn't this bad, which is a bummer. I mean, it's quite interesting because Joovv have said they have made the LEDs wider, increased the treatment area. I don't quite understand how that works. But as you can see here, so that's just the visible red light. We can't see the near infrared light, but that's a definite polka dot effect. The good thing is though, I guess the upside is Joovv only used 660 and 850, right? So as I move it back, by the way, it blends out, right? At the moment we're 6 inches there. The good thing is there's only 660 nanometer lights, so it's not like you're getting 4 different wavelengths and you're getting big blotches everywhere. Alright, so now moving on to the value section of this review. Now first up we do the dollar per LED. Now typically I'd use the discounted price because that is what the customer's paying, and then divide that by the number of LEDs. And we'll still do the same thing here, but of course we don't have a discounted price. So the price I'm going to use is the listed price on the Joovv website, excluding the taxes. So that comes out to be $9.10 per LED, which is up there. Ideally you'd be, well, just looking at my data sheet here, we've got other panels down around the $3-4 mark. So, you know, it's quite expensive. Comparing it to the Joovv Solo 2nd gen, that was $8, so it's actually gone up in price. The 2nd gen panel was the same amount of LEDs, so the price has gone up, so that is a bit of a bummer. The next calculation is the dollar per wattage output. Now this came out to be $16.10, which is again very high. So if we compare that to the 2nd generation Joovv, that figure was $20. So yes, we have come down, and that is because the power in this has gone up more than the price has got, relatively more than the price has gone up. So that is good if you're coming from a previous generation panel to the new one. But at $16, if we compare that to, say, you know, the Biomaxes and the Light Paths and the Mito Red panels, they're all beneath $10, right? So you're paying a lot for less power, I guess. Well, no, for the same amount of power, but you're spending more money here to get a lower powered panel. That's what that figure's showing. Alright, next up we're going to test EMF. This is going to be interesting because the power plug here doesn't have a grounded point. It's only got the 2 prongs. So in theory, I wouldn't be surprised if the electric readings in my EMF section are a little bit higher. Anyway, I've got my coordinate meter. Let's get testing. Alright, the EMF numbers are in, and yeah, my theory was right. The electric readings are not great. They're not as bad as I expected, but they're still not great. So out at 6 inches, we were still in the green zone based on my coordinate meter standards on the side here. We had a reading of 23 VM. When we moved up to 3 inches, it jumped up to 90, which puts it in the cautious zone. It's in the yellow-orange zone here on my coordinate meter. If I came out to like 1 inch or 2 inches, it just started going up exponentially. I think right at the surface, I saw 800-900, you know, on the screen there, which is really high. So that's a bummer because I mean that's an easy fix, right? If they'd used the power plug that had the 3rd sensor grounding point there, those readings would be a lot higher. So to be honest, I suppose you could just change the plug that you use in here because it is just a relatively standard plug, but now I look at it, there's no grounding point in that plug as well. So let's take a look. No, there's no grounding plug in there, so even if you did use a different plug, it wouldn't matter. Which is quite surprising. I don't know why Joovv have done that, whether it's just an oversight or yeah, it's just odd. But that is a bummer because it is going to turn a few customers away. You know, people who are quite passionate about the EMF are not going to like those readings. As for the magnetic section, 3 inches we were 0.08. At the 6 inches we were 0.15, which is actually just up in the yellow zone. So not ideal. Most of these new generation panels that I've been testing this year have been green across the board at both 6 and 3 inches. So if you are super concerned about EMF, you may not want to go with the Joovv unless you're standing further out. At that 6 inch mark you're okay, but if you're coming into the 3 inches, you know, you're starting to get into that semi-danger zone. It does have Bluetooth in here for the app function, so yeah, that is going to affect the radio frequency readings, and I don't think there's a way to disable that. At least I couldn't see anything, so it is a bit of a bummer. Alright, next up we're going to test the flicker and the sound levels. Alright, so good news, there was no flicker, both readings were 0, which is great. Sound came out to be 62.1, which is quite high. Typically we see in the 50s, even low 50s. This is a decibel figure. So 60s, yeah, 62 is quite high. One of the things that really has bothered me is the sound. I didn't actually think it was loud, but now I know it is. It's the pitch. There's only 2 fans in this panel, and it has like this higher. It's really hard to explain. What I'll do is I'll shoot a bit of footage, and you can have a listen for yourself. But it's kind of like this like irritating noise. You don't really want it going for too long, and of course you're standing next to it for 20 minutes doing a red light therapy session. It's like this sound is really starting to get to me. Other panels, I have experienced that, but not at this level. Some of the newer panels, you just don't even bother it. Like it doesn't even bother you. It's just a background hum, right? But this has got like a different pitch to it that I haven't encountered with any other red light therapy panel. So yeah, let me show you this footage, and you can try and make a conclusion yourself. Of course, it's going to be hard with only a few seconds, but hey, I'll show you what I mean. I don't know if that would have come across well in the video, so it may just be one of these things you just have to take my word for it. It wasn't like, hey, I can't use this, but over time it's like, oh, this is a bit annoying. So it is a bit of a bummer, given that you are going to be standing next to these panels. Okay, so when it comes to operating the Joovv Solo 3.0, we've got the screen on the side here, but we've also got the app. Now what I want to do is show you the control panel first, because that's what most people are using to control red light therapy panel, even though you got the app. So at the moment it's switched on at the wall. There's 2 lights glowing. I guess that means there's power coming to the unit. There's no override power switch on the back, so that's just how it is unless you switch it off at the wall. Now if I turn it on, boom, it all comes to life. We've got all sorts of colors on there. I'm not a big fan of the blue, especially in a evening time. That blue light does emit quite a strong light. I like even the greens. I notice sometimes are like that. So anyway, it is what it is. By default 10 minutes. All right. Also by default the red light is on, and so is the near infrared light. You can see the little red lights next to each indicator there, so that's showing that if I press play on this now, will start, both the red light is going to be going and the near infrared. It's good that by default both of them on. This light over here shows that the pulsing function is on. Now that's really easy to disable. If I just click that, it will be disabled. If I put it back on, it's on. Likewise with these, you press the light button. Now the near infrared is off. You notice the pulsing is off because the pulsing only works with the near infrared. Press it again, the red is off and the infrared is on. Press it again and both are on. Simple. Timer button changes the time all the way up to 20 minutes, I believe, and it simply counts down from there. And when I hit this button, it starts up. Now the new Joovv has what they call the start-stop dimming feature. I think that's what they call it. It's at least what I call it. So when I hit start, the intensity starts a little bit softer, and it takes about 5 seconds and works up to full intensity. It's kind of nice, when you're turning it on, because sometimes you turn it on, it's like, whoa, that's so bright. I mean, people that have watched my videos, you may have seen that sometimes. I've turned it on and be like, geez, that was really bright. So that is I think it is a nice feature. It is a little bit confusing though, because the first time you do it, you think, why is the timer not counting down? But it takes about 5 seconds. So let me show you. So I'll hit start. You may have even seen that in shot, how the brightness is getting stronger and stronger. And then I think it takes 10 seconds actually. Maybe it is 10 seconds. And now we go. So now it's at full intensity. And I noticed that when I was testing the radiance before, I had to wait a while to get the high readings. Now what's kind of frustrating is it also works the other way. So if I press stop, the timer stops. It takes the same 5-10 seconds to turn off, which is quite a long time, as you can see. Now it's finally off, and then the fans keep going and they take a few seconds. I really don't like that. I just wish it stopped. It's all good coming on nice and gently like that, but when you stop it, you just want to stop it. Someone walks into the room, or I don't know, you just want to turn it off. You turn it off, right? What I've actually started doing is using the power button. So, I'm doing my session. Yep, cool. All right, I want to stop. Okay, well, I just hit the power button. and just kill power to all of it, including the fans. Otherwise, there's not really too many other options to show you on here, but there are a lot more features that I need to pull up the app to show you. When I go into the app, I've already linked it all up. I showed you how to do that in my first impressions video. Now right away, I can start a session through the phone, or of course I can hit the start button on the panel, but if I simply hit start right now, there we go, it starts going. And then if I hit stop, well, now it's going to take you 5 seconds or whatever to stop. What I can do from this screen is change everything I could change on here. I can do it on the phone. So I can hit timer, change the time, let's go 8 minutes. I can select whether I want near, red, or near infrared. Sorry, near infrared, red, or both. And we'll come back to the ambient mode. And then I can enable or disable pulsing. So all the things I can do on the control panel here, I can do on the phone. Great. There are some features that you can only do through the app, and this is what I was saying before. I wish you could do them on here as well, so you didn't even need the app. One of those features is ambient mode. So this is in here, go down to ambient, and all this does is changes the intensity of the light. So some people like using this for background light, you know, for mood lighting, or I don't know, they just want to light the room and they don't want bright white lights overhead. I wish though you could go down to like 2% or 5% or something, because even at 25% it's quite a bright light, as you'll soon see. That's one good thing about the new Biomax range from Platinum LED. You've got the touchscreen sliders, so you can change the power intensity, and you can take it right down to 1%. So you're not wasting hardly any electricity, and it's just a nice subtle brightness, though it is still bright. Though even at the lowest brightness settings, you're still running the fans, which is annoying, because if you just want it as background, then you know sometimes you don't want that fan going. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is enable 25% ambient mode, which I've done now, and then I'm going to hit start, and then that will run the Joovv at 25% ambient mode, which is all good and well. Now, one other thing I needed to show you, and I didn't realize this in my first impressions video, I thought in ambient mode you're still limited to 20 minutes, but it's not. You'll notice that once I've enabled ambient mode, I can set the timer right up to 90 minutes. Now I think those time limits are in there to protect the internals of the panel, you know, because it could overheat, right? So obviously at a lower power intensity, you can go for longer. 90 minutes, yeah, I think that's a reasonable amount of time. So I could run this at 25% power for 90 minutes, all good. What else is in the app? Of course, I can sync to multiple panels, so I've got a Joovv Go, so I can manage that in here as well. I don't quite, oh, here we go, manage devices. You can see my Joovv Go there as well. That's all cool. There is my chart usage setting. So I can go into this screen, I can see how many sessions I've done, roughly how long I use it for, and all that cool stuff. Did I use red or near infrared? I can also set up a goal and say I want to do 5 sessions a week or whatever, and it will remind me and all that. Oh yeah, that's cool kind of stuff. Personally, I don't use it. I mean, maybe I should use it. It could be quite interesting looking back on the data, but it's just not something that I have done. But like I said when I started recording this, I was doing a lot of sessions on here, but when I synced the app, it didn't transfer it through. If you have to sync it while there's power going to this. So if I finish my session, I sync it. If I turn it off at the wall, then I lose the data. I think that's what was happening. So, you know, a bit of a bummer, but hey, I mean, it's just like well, that's kind of cool, but does it really matter? I don't know. Some people might like it. Some people, like me, probably don't care. Now, session beeper. This is another feature that you can only access through the app. What you can do is you can turn the beeper off. You can have the panel beep at certain frequencies. So I can say, beep 2 minutes before the end, beep at midway, beep every 2 minutes, or beep at the end, okay? The one I really like the most, you could use the beep 2 minutes before end if you're doing a meditation or something. And no, actually I wouldn't even use it for that. The one I like the most is beep at midway. So, for instance, what I'd use this for, if I was doing, say, a 20-minute session, and I wanted to do 10 on the front, 10 on the back, I could just have it beep at midway and I'd know to turn. But I could also just look at the timer and be like, oh, okay, we're at the 10-minute mark, turn around. So it's not like an absolute game changer, it's just nice to have. But the thing is, you need that app, you need to run the app to activate it all. So yeah, otherwise you got news, announcements, updates. Face ID is just simply when you log into the phone, and I have had a few problems opening up the app, and I've had to re-log in again. I'm like, oh, this is driving me nuts. and it says, do you want to enable Face ID? I personally don't use Face ID, so I haven't used it, but yeah, otherwise it's just settings. I'm pretty sure that when I first opened this app up many months ago, there was also an alarm function, so you could use the panel to wake you up at a certain time. I'm sure that was an option, but I've updated the app and now that function's gone. I can't see anything on their website, so either I'm going crazy or they've removed that function. And yeah, so you can see all your history of session times in here as well. So I don't know, I guess that is kind of cool. But hey, I've said this before about apps and like complex functions and that. These are red light therapy panels. You don't really need like really advanced controls and, you know, like the light path LED with all the buttons and that. You really only need, you know, something like this that's on the side, or your Biomax control panel with the touchscreen, which is quite nice. But that's really all you need. Some of these more advanced functions, I don't know. I mean, it's not for me, but it is such a competitive market now that I think a lot of companies are trying to come out with novel ideas and stuff. And, you know, some of this stuff will attract customers in, so fair enough. I just wanted to share any experiences I have had after using this panel for the last few months. I've kind of touched on the main things. The sound bothered me a bit. The overriding the power just to kill it when I wanted to stop it. As from a performance health benefits point of view, I've said this so many times. I've been using red light therapy for years now, and I know it works, right? And it's not like one panel works and the other one doesn't. They all work. It's the point of these reviews is just to help you find the best one for your goals and what you should spend your money on. So it's not like I've used this and walk away thinking, oh my god, like all that pain's gone, because that always happens, right? As for the recovery mode, I can't really quantify it. Like, it's so hard to know. I don't know, like I'm not training super seriously at the moment, it's hard to know if it's working or not. It was the same, I had the same comments with the light path LED panel. So I'm sorry, but I can't say, oh my god, buy it because of the recovery mode is amazing and I can train 3 times as hard. Because I can't, I'd be making that up. And to be honest, I don't know if anyone would really be able to quantify it unless you did a proper study. So what I want to look at next is alternative products from the Joovv line and also competitive products to the Joovv Solo. So first up, let's look at the alternative products you could buy from Joovv. If you wanted to go smaller, you're going down to the Joovv Mini. Now the Joovv Mini is half the size, only has 60 LEDs, and it comes out at nearly $900, $895. It's got all the same features in that as the Solo, it's just a lot smaller. It does work out to be nearly $15 per LED, so you're getting much better bang for your buck buying the Solo. If you want to go bigger, then the next step up is the Duo, which is simply 2 of these. But they also come with one of the mounts. I think it is the door mount, perhaps. The weird thing is though, when you buy that, like yes, you are getting that extra mount which clips them together. You're going to be paying $2,895. It comes with a door stand. That's what it comes with. But that actually works out to be $9.65 per LED, which is more than the $9.10 if you just buy this on its own. So it's kind of unusual. I mean, you're buying 2 of them, yes, you're getting the door stand, but you're paying usually when you buy more panels, the price comes down, but that's not true for the Duo. Otherwise, you can go all the way up to the Elite, which is 6 of these, 3 across and 2 high, and that's like $8,500. And again, the price per LED is more than just this one on its own. So pretty much in a nutshell, if you're going to go with Joovv and you don't know if you want to go big or small or whatever, just start with the Joovv Solo and you know you can go buy more later on. There's no real incentive to buy heaps of them now because you're not really saving much from a cost point of view. Alright, what about competitive products, you know, outside of Joovv? So if you're seriously considering a Joovv, like if you think, yep, no, this is what I want, and maybe you're watching this video, it's the first video of mine you've watched, if so, welcome, hi, then I think you have to seriously consider some other options as well, because yes, Joovv has some neat technology and neat designs, and they have all the marketing and all the sponsorships and all the, you know, NFL players and all that are using it. Cool. But the thing is, we know red light therapy works, whether it's coming from a Joovv or coming from, you know, just a LED, high-powered LED torch, or a Biomax or a miter reader or a light path, right? Like, we know it works. What you got to decide is what panel is the best for your goals, which looks the nicest, what fits your budget, what has the wavelengths that you want, what's going to be the easiest to use, what has the stands you want. That's what's quite important, all right? Because we know the red light therapy works. So, for instance, if you go and look at the new Biomaxes from Platinum LED, you can get the Biomax 600. Now that has 200 LEDs, this has 150, so the Bimax 600 has a few more LEDs, but you're also getting multiple wavelengths. So the Bimax has 5 wavelengths, I think, this only has 2. And the Bimax also has a 3-year warranty compared to the Joovv's 2. Now you can get this Bimax 600 for $900. So that's like $500 saving, and you're getting more LEDs, more wavelengths, better warranty. You know what I mean? You got to look at all these other options. Another example is the Mito Pro. So I've reviewed all of these, I'll put links to them below, but the Mito Pro 1500, a new panel from Mito Red, that has 300 LEDs, twice the size of this. You've got multi-wave technology, so they've got 4 wavelengths, evenly split 25% of the power going in each wavelength. That sells for $1,100. So it's cheaper than this, it's double the size, has more power as well. So, you know, a better EMF rating. So, see what I'm saying? You have to look at these other options. Now, if you're thinking, yeah, but those panels don't have pulsing technology, fair point. But then you have to look at light path LED. And again, this is a panel I've reviewed here on my channel. The light path LED large multi-wave panel comes out under $1,300. So again, it's cheaper than this. It's got more LEDs, 216 versus 150. You've got multi-wave technology, this doesn't. And you can customize the pulsing, anything from 1 Hertz all the way up to 10,000 Hertz. Whereas this is fixed at 10 Hertz. So, like I said, you've got to look at those other options. Now, if it's difficult, if you're thinking, well, which one do I go for? Check out my data sheet below, because I will be putting all the specs into there and you can go on and have a look yourself. Otherwise, check out my reviews. I've reviewed a lot of these panels. Otherwise, stay tuned for my comparison series, my 2021 body panel comparison series, where I'll compare all these panels and help you just figure out which one to get. I guess what I'm saying is, do some research, shop around, and if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them below and I'll do my best to give you an unbiased answer. Alright, that's enough for the comparison round. Let's look at the summary, what I like, what I didn't like. Okay, now for my concluding thoughts. Well, let me go through what I like and don't like about the panel. So, firstly, the big thing that I do like is the design. It's new, it's fresh, it's different, it's light. Sure, it's made of plastic, but I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. It's just a little bit surprising at first, I guess. The handholds in the back and on the sides are really, really neat. It looks good. You know, it's a nice design, and it's good. It's novel. It's new. I'm sort of sick of, well, I'm not sick of it, but it is a little bit boring and a little bit repetitive, seeing pretty much the same panel over and over again, just with a few little twists. This is different, so good on Joovv for spicing it up. I also like the new modular system that Joovv have incorporated. With that central bracket here, it allows you to attach on the door panels, the door stands or the wall stands, or clamp them all together and use the big mobile rack system. It is quite a neat, streamlined system rather than having to hook panels into each other, and which works, but it's, you know, I have a feeling this is going to be a lot tidier. I also have to say the power on this panel is good. Yes, there are more powerful panels in the market, but there are also a lot that are less powerful. It is a big jump up from the Gen 2 Joovv panels, so that is good. The downside though on the power note is the hotspot. We are getting those hotspot polka dot effects that I don't think I've seen before, at least this bad in the Joovv, so that is a bit of a backward step. Finally, I do like the new features and functionalities that Joovv have incorporated in their new Gen 3 panels. I do like the option of running it at a low power with the ambient mode. I do like the beep halfway through a session. I do like the slow to start, you know, the dim on function. Just little things. I mean, they're not absolutely game-changing technologies, but you know, they're just nice add-ons. But, and this now brings me into my dislikes, I don't like how a lot of those functions are only accessible through the app. You have to, not only do you have to download the app and have the smartphone and all that, but you have to create an account, then you have to sync them all up, then you got to go through all the menus and then find what you want and enable it, right? I think as well, if you turn the panel off, a lot of those settings are lost. Like for instance, if you set it to beep halfway through, so I might be wrong on that. Instead, I'd much prefer just another set of buttons down the bottom here, like ambient mode button, or a button that enabled an intensity button, 100%, 75, 50, 20, 25%. Just another row of buttons here. You'd have your intensity button with a few indicators there. You could have your beep button, beep it in, beep it midway, beep at start, beep every 2 minutes. You know, just simple options, right? I think that would be I don't know, it's like so much easier than having to do it all through the app. In fact, if you were starting to get quite a few buttons on there, why not incorporate a screen such as the Biomax has? Not even the new Biomax, the old generation 2018 Biomax had like an LCD screen, similar size of the Joovv, but it had menus on there. Like maybe leave some of that more advanced functionality to like a drop-down menu option. Have the main buttons for your power, for start, time, pulsing, and then all that like behind the scenes sort of stuff that at the moment you have to use that for. Why not have it built into there? That's personally what I'd much prefer to see. It is cool that, yeah, you can track all the stats and your usage through the app if you're into that. And it is cool you can, you know, control the whole thing through the app if you're into it. But I actually think it's restrictive that you have to use the app to access some of those functions. Next up, I don't like how there's only two wavelengths. I know Joovv has said on their 660 and 850, but there is a lot of research now on those other alternative wavelengths, as I call them. I think maybe if Joovv offered another range, perhaps, you know, you could get your base 660, 850 and then your multi-wave panel. I know a lot of companies have done that now, but Joovv obviously want to stick with that 660 and 850, but I do think they'll lose a lot of customers who want those other wavelengths. Next up we have the EMF levels. The EMF levels I tested today would have been great back in 2019, but we're in 2021 now, and all these new panels coming out have rock bottom EMF levels. The fact that we're getting oranges and some like cautious readings, I know they're at the 3-inch range, but I don't know, I think they really need to fix that. And it would have been an easy fix, especially with the electric readings, so that is quite a bummer. We also have the sound issues. It is one of the loudest panels I've tested, and it's a different pitch. I think it could be because there's only 2 fans and they're going to work a little bit harder. Maybe it's because they've gone to plastic design, and I don't know, like heat issues are different. I'm not too sure, but it is definitely louder and definitely a little bit annoying, so that's a bummer. I've got 2 more points. One of them is warranty. 2-year warranty. Again, 2019, 2 years was good, 3 years was the best. 2021, 3 years is good, 5 years is the best. The Joovv only has a 2-year warranty. It is on the lower side, especially given that this is the ultra premium highest price panel on the market, right? And finally, the big one, you guessed it, price. It's just overpriced. I think, yes, you can justify paying a premium for some of the niceties, like the nice packaging, the nice design, the app, which I'm sure a lot of money has gone into, you know, some of those advanced features, sure. But at the end of the day, we're not buying a car, you're not buying a smartphone, you're buying a red light therapy panel, right? You're buying something to help your body heal, recover, optimize, whatever, right? I think when you really stop and break it down, you can spend less money and get a panel twice the size with more power and a longer warranty and more wavelengths. Like, it's I don't know, it's really hard to justify going with the Joovv. If you're hooked into the big marketing, you know, like, oh, my favorite sports player or team uses Joovv, yeah, I get that. I mean, that's sponsorship, that's marketing, that's how it all works. But when you really boil it down to, hey, look, at the end of the day, I'm getting a red light, near infrared light panel that's emitting this light, and I want it to be easy to use, and I want it to be reliable. It's hard to really justify spending that extra money on a Joovv. Big turnoff is the price, and it's not just the price for the panel. When you go onto the website, you're then going to pay your taxes and your shipping and all that. And the fact that they don't even offer free shipping to the USA, most companies I'm reviewing now at least offer free shipping to USA. Some even offer free shipping internationally. And those panels are also coming in better priced than the Joovv. So the big disadvantage to this panel, or my big dislike, is simply the price. So there you have it, my comprehensive review of the Joovv Solo Gen 3. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's been a long review, but there was a lot to cover in this review. And pretty much my concluding thoughts are simple. Great panel, great features, great design, some nice technology in there, but way overpriced. Well, maybe not overpriced given what you're getting. No, yes, it's overpriced. And as simple as that. At the end of the day, if you're super serious on getting a Joovv, you should also check out some of those competitors' products, because they're doing similar things, if not better, and coming in at a much cheaper price point. However, if you are in a fortunate position where money's not an issue and you really like the Joovv, hey, go buy a bunch of these. Stand them all on top of each other, side by side, sync them all up, use the app. You're going to get the results. We know that. We know that with all these red light therapy panels. And you're going to have a nice looking, easy to set up, easy to move panel. So you can't go wrong. It's just I think you can do better. Alright guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like and be sure to leave any questions or comments below. If you have a Joovv or you're thinking about buying a Joovv, you know, share your experiences with me below. I'm really curious to hear how you find it, and if you have any questions about red light therapy, again, leave them below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Alright guys, bye.